So there's sometimes a problem in martial arts where we're working against punches, and what I do is I take up a particular stance and my partner throws in a punch and I work my technique. It's okay in that people are learning to use a particular technique, but the problem comes when you're working against someone for real and they don't just throw one punch, they might not give you time to get ready and all the rest of it. So instead what we're looking at is, rather than using the hands to defend, we're looking at using movement, footwork especially initially. So what we're looking at doing also is, rather than standing and waiting for this punch to come in, I should actually be moving now, right? Why am I waiting for this punch when I should be moving as the intention to the punch is formed? So that's the first thing. You can practice this in lots of different ways. It's very simple to go with the basic Dalek drill, for instance, is one way to do it. You can work with sticks, you can work up to just standing here, and as the hand comes up, you just start moving. So you're sort of preempting the person's movement a little bit, but you should be able to pick it up clearly. This is another reason for training slow at the start. As you see, there's the movement there. That's my cue to move. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing I also have to look at is, how am I positioning myself when I move? I can create space, but it's not necessarily solving the problem. So instead, when you do move, you're looking to position yourself in such a way that you've still got your firepower is basically lined up with him. And his punching is a little bit compromised. For instance, if I go this way, I can avoid the punch, but what sort of position am I in? Terrible one. If I go this way, once again I kind of defend, but it's a little bit difficult to respond from here. So always be aware when you're working to avoid of your position. So as I say, we can work that in lots of different ways, and you can build up speed and everything else, but as much as you can, try and work from the feet. There's often a tendency to work from the head, which gets us out of the way of one thing but sort of leaves everything there. You can work around this by doing something else simultaneously, or sometimes letting the head lead the movement as well. That's all things that can be worked on.
That's nice.
Absolutely, yes.
So that addresses one issue. Let's look at what's happening with the hands now, because quite often you see when people get into a stance, they begin to use very defensive shapes with the hands. So as he's working against me, I'm using the hands in order to counter what he's doing. This is all right, but again doesn't necessarily solve the problem. If I bring my main defence back to movement, then what this does is this frees the hands up to start working. So what I'm thinking is, the feet are movement for defence, the hands for offence. It allows me to extend the hands out in order to work, rather than keeping the hands back here, and then maybe every now and again I'm trying to catch in and find a little gap and put something in. I really want to cut this down to as short a time as possible. Because the other issue with this is, when people do this, if she's working against me, what am I defending? I'm defending a bit of decking here, when I can let him have that space and I can go somewhere else. So don't be too fixed in your approach in terms of thinking you've got to take up a stance in a strong position. People do this because they feel strong. It feels like from here I can throw out a good hit. So the other thing you have to develop is the ability to be moving but still be able to put in good strikes. So that comes into developing a floating route and all sorts of other things. Wave movement, short power. So once you start getting into this, you work on one layer, but then that reveals so many other layers as well. There's a lot of fear control and psychology involved in this as well, because I've got to have the confidence and capability to work like this, rather than working from a fear perspective like this. And this is why I think you sometimes see classical martial arts in particular get a bit overwhelmed when they go up against MMA or sports fighters. Because if you look at how sports fighters train, they're used to working in quite a fluid way. If a guy comes in and tries to use fixed position against that is, you know, suddenly he's on the back foot. So instead, try and be fluid and adaptable, and you don't have to wait, especially in a real life situation. I'm already moving. Why am I waiting for this punch to come in? At this speed, look, I can stop it with a finger. You know? People do this. Yeah, great, at this speed, I'm telling him where to punch me, and it's nice and slow. If he starts hitting me for real, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. So learn to move, learn to be adaptable, keep your footwork for defence, the hands for offence. This will start freeing your movement up, and once you free your movement up, you'll find you start doing things that you didn't think you could do before. Your body will start reacting spontaneously, and that for the other person is very difficult to defend against, because if I work against him in such a way as this, we pretty much know what to expect. If I work in different ways, then it's a little bit more of a surprise. I can hit him from very odd angles and do quite strange things to him. Okay? Cheers. 7.